out.
Just an immediate no. I'm strong, but not that strong.
I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Well, I'll just open it up too. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So, of course, DeJounte, you guys had him for a couple of years. What went into the decision that now was the time that you guys wanted to, go in a different direction?
Just evaluating where we're at. It was a hard decision. It was challenging. We knew that where we ultimately want to be was going to require some challenging decisions. Just not being at that point currently where we felt like we can continue on with what we have. So, wanted to reshape some things, and this is an unfortunate part of the business. DeJounte is a fantastic player, but we're excited for him and his journey on in New Orleans, but we're also very excited about the guys that we got back. Got a few assets with it too, which are going to be helpful for us to continue to build. So, I wish him nothing but the best. He and his family have been great with us.
You guys brought 4 guys back, which of course brings up questions about the roster construction. How do you try to proceed forward and maybe bring some of those guys that you valued so much last year back into the fold?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to be in a roster crunch right now. We're obviously over the amount of players that we can bring back. So from now until, start of season, we'll have some more tough decisions to make.
One of those is Bruno. You guys extended the deadline for his decision to today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the decision?
So we're actually working with this camp to push it back again, just to, create some flexibility, see if there's something that we can continue to do, and hopefully it works out.
How do you feel about Dyson Daniels?
I feel great about him. He's playing with his national team for the Olympics, so that's been good for him. And feedback that we've gotten and the amount of film and in-person studying that we've done of him as a player really fits like what we're looking to do more and more of. So couldn't be more thrilled. Like, we're excited about his talent and his fit for us.
What about his game are you particularly excited to get?
His defensive versatility is something that really stands out. His shooting has gotten better. It's something that we think we can get an uptick in him as time goes on with his development. So if we're able to help him stay the course defensively and then give him some offensive adjustments there, turns into a real player.
When you have to make a move like trading DeJounte, given the fact that you made a trade for him just a couple of years ago, do you look at that as a failure, or how do you kind of view it?
Not at all. I absolutely not. I look at it as, at the time we had an opportunity to go get a really good player, and for where we're at, we wanted to take a chance to make it to the next level of what we were trying to do at that point in time. I think that at this point, right, it's the kind of what I said earlier, it's now faced with another challenging decision in moving him. But no, I don't see it as a failure at all, especially when you look at that and go, okay, what are some things that we learned from that? What are things that worked out well? What are things that didn't work out well? But I think going back, we would definitely take that risk again.
Obviously it's a business, but how difficult are decisions like that, especially as Caleb was talking about, you made a trade for him just a couple of years ago?
It's very challenging, like all things considered, and new context with like a cap environment and how you're able to build out the team. Looking at what assets you have for the future. It's a challenge, and good players like DeJounte don't come around very often, especially available at the time that he was. So. It was our evaluation, and I think it was a great collaborative effort for all parties involved, and that's where we landed.
You mentioned being in a roster crunch right now, but where do you feel like you guys are at when it comes to building for the future?
I think we're in a good spot. In terms of who will be on the roster and who won't, that's a question for another day.
Is it fair to say, though, that Trae Young will be on this roster?
we have a lot of value in Trae. We really do. We have a lot of value in DeJounte, but this is those moments where you have to make those hard decisions. So, from there on, we'll continue to build.
Some of the assets that you guys were able to get back were a couple of potential draft picks. Just how much flexibility does that give you for not just next year, but the next couple of years?
It helps. We have a pick next year, potentially 2, depending on how the sack pick falls. and that's the year that we didn't have a pick through the DeJounte trade. So that was one of our objectives, is to get back in a draft class that we didn't have one. Obviously in 27 potentially have that as well. So that just helps. You get more bites at the apple, and believing in our development system and believing what Quinn and his coaching staff can do for these players. Having draft picks is essential.
You were asked about, Bruno, you have created some more depth at the 4 and 5 with some of these new guys that are on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect your plans, especially for Capella, for instance?
Like I said, it's going to be an evaluation for us from now until the start of the regular season. Still place a lot of value in Clint, so it should be fine.
You talk about Steph Lindy, who signed into his two-way deal, and what you see in him as well. What that happened?
Yeah, for him it was unfortunate with injury. It'd be great for him to have played summer league, but these things happen. A guy that at the time when he first had that injury last season was really the trajectory kind of looking up on what he was able to do, especially shooting the basketball, and the development that he had in the G League for College Park I thought was great. So just for a guy in what we're doing, just going to continue to develop him. So he's hungry, he's gritty as a player, and I know he wants it too. So we'll be excited when he gets back from injury.
Player development's always important in general, but when you look at your situation where you're hard capped now and your roster's full,
Mm-hmm.
how important is it for you to have some of these young guys be, good parts of the rotation next year?
Development is crucial, I think, in a new cap environment right now. When you have limitations on how you're going to be able to roster build, that leaves you with the option of changing your roster through development. So that's a strong emphasis for us. And our expectations for our players is really in that same vein, like grow, develop, learn, put the work in, and we'll let the results be what they are.
What do you want to see from Zach and Nico in summer league?
Get more and more integrated, accustomed to actually playing a new style of basketball. I mean, it's one thing to go from college to the NBA, but coming from two completely different countries and playing at this system, I was talking with Juka earlier about it. He's like, there's so much spacing, there's so much things that potential out there. I'm like, yeah, man, go have at it. Those are all new things for them. So I think it's just making sure that we're supporting them and integrating them into our system, into our way of doing things, and then just go out and competing. But those are all things that I'm not worried about, because that was part of our process and assessments during the draft process, is making sure those were covered. Like, we didn't have to worry about those things, and those guys have it.
When you drafted Zach, you said part of the plan with him is to add some weight to him. Like, what's the potential there? Like, with his build, how big do you think he could be there?
I don't have a specific number. I know, he's 19. He'll be 19 all this season, and we've done some new things with our performance staff that we're really excited about there, and he's a worker. So, I would say look at his body this time next year, and I think you'll see some transformation.
We've had one player come over here and talk about his shooting, and I talked to another player who said, wow, he's more as a ball handler than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
What has this first week of him on the practice court been like for you to see everything that you were drafting?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, right? You never put too much into two practices, but to see him out here, and I think the thing that I've really been impressed by is just his ability to take risks. It's a new game, it's a new system, new way of playing. So for him to step into that more and more is crucial for how he's going to evolve as a player, and we're going to help him through that. So, yeah, the shooting, as I mentioned before, even through the draft process is one of his superpowers. Like, he's able to shoot that ball, and he's got real size, and he can defend as well. So some of the ball handling stuff will definitely come, but that's obviously something that, as that whichever player that was, that we've seen as well.
Two more, please.
With their seasons in Europe ending, so close to now, how many games do you expect them to play at Summer League?
I mean, it's hard to say. I don't anticipate them not playing. We want them to develop, and got to play to develop.
What do you want to see out of this Summer League roster as a whole?
Oh, good question. I would love for them to just go out and compete and to implement the things that Coach Ron has been talking about in practice, and to give more and more of you all a chance to see kind of what we really value here at the end of the day. So we're just excited about how they're going to approach it. And from what we've seen the last few days, the way they've been competing and getting after it has been fun. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for sitting.
You're welcome.